so a complete surprise that we had about a month ago was a man called us out of the blue from New Mexico, and the conversation started. He said, "I've got the tractor that Henry Ford built for his grandchildren," and we get a lot of calls with a lot of big stories. And so I listened to him, and he told me it was a Fordson, had several unique attributes on it, like an S on the end of Fordson, but it had a Model T engine in it and a Model T rear end. And so as I talked to him, I said, you know, hey, probably what this could be is a doodle bug, you know, something that somebody made years ago. I said, you have to have provenance on it to actually prove that it was made for Henry Ford's grandchildren. And he said, oh, well, I've got all of the paperwork where it was bought at the Henry Ford dispersal auction in 1982. And I said, kind of changes things. So fascinating story, and we've actually delved into it and did some research. We've got the documents where the tractor was sold in 1982 when the Henry Ford Museum was reducing some inventory. We found an inventory number on the tractor that so happens to match the inventory number that's on all the paperwork. So we have no doubt, you know, about the tractor. We believe it is what he says it is, and it's all original patina on the tractor. So obviously the tractor has been cared for, you know, over the years. It was probably housed in the Henry Ford Museum from the 20s up into the 80s. And then once the collector that bought it, he took great care of it. So I mean, it's exceptionally well preserved. According to the documentation that we got from the Henry Ford, this was probably done around 1925. It's approximately 5/8 scale. However, since it used a Model T engine and a Model T rear end, you know, it's I don't think it was necessarily built to scale, but it was built as a miniature Fordson. One of the pieces of paperwork that we've got said that Ford went to his engineers, Howard Simpson and Farkas, who were both instrumental in the development of the Fordson, and he said, I need a small Fordson tractor that would fit an 8 to 10-year-old boy. And so this is what they came up with. And actually, if you look at the seat, at the stamped steel seat, it is made to fit an 8 to 10-year-old boy. I can't fit on it. Henry had a farm that was kind of his hobby farm, and it was called Fairlane. And on Fairlane Farm, he did a lot of experimentation and planted a lot of crops, and it was just kind of his place to go play. That's also where some of the early Ford tractors were tested. Well, he set up a miniature farm, and that's what he taught his grandkids, you know, the basics. And there had actually been a miniature threshing machine built, of which there's photographs of. We don't know that still exists. And I believe a small wagon also, but we could not find any file photographs as of yet. We've been in contact with the Henry Ford Museum of the tractor, but we did see photographs of the thresher. There's several unique attributes on this tractor. The radiator top is probably a one-off, one-of-a-kind. It's cast aluminum, and where Fordson production tractors just said Fordson, this actually has an S on it for some reason. It says Fordsons. Nobody has seen that before, at least a lot of the big Fordson collectors. It's also got some attributes on it that you wouldn't find on a normal tractor, but it's kind of set up for kids. It's got a special governor on the carburetor that you can actually restrict fuel flow, so you can restrict the speed of the tractor. And it has safety wires on it, so they know that if it was adjusted, that somebody adjusted it. My grandkids, I would have that on there, so that way they wouldn't take off and you know, be going too fast. On the back side, it also has another safety precaution, and you'll see here that it has a little latch to lock down the ignition, which is, you know, I've got a grandson that likes to start everything on the farm, so I have to take the keys out of my tractors. So Henry had to put a little padlock on the ignition for his grandsons, I see. In the paperwork on this tractor that we got that kind of tells the provenance of it, one of the requests that Henry had of his engineers was to make a seat for the tractor that was big enough to fit an 8 to 10-year-old boy. You'll see by my hand how small that seat really is. So it's definitely not anything that I can sit on, but it will perfectly fit an 8 to 10-year-old boy. So there's several attributes that support the story and the provenance that we've got on the tractor. You know, another thing to note on this tractor this is all original paint as far as I'm concerned. It's got the right finish and the right crackle to it. I'm sure that this tractor has probably had very little use, you know, because it doesn't take long for kids to outgrow things. It was probably very well cared for. I know that it spent a lot of time in the Henry Ford Museum and was housed and inside, and in 1982 when it sold at the auction, of course the collectors valued it, so they took it home and sheltered it and stored it well. So, you know, it is amazing to find any tractor from the 20s that has this much original paint on it. In fact, it's completely unheard of. So as far as I'm concerned, this is actually a piece of American history. It's really a fabulous piece.